In this video, I would like you to take a look at this Investigative Methodology handout. This is what we call a complete and rigorous investigation letter, which is focusing on key points of a successful investigation, with some specific on digital forensics right here in the middle. So here at the beginning or at the bottom of the letter, we begin with some sort of allegation, accusation, or complaint, like a filed police report or a report of a web server attack. So the investigation begins, and it's critical that the assessment of the case is scrutinized from the very beginning. You have to decide whether it's even worth resolving. Sometimes it may be a false alarm. The police is tasked with writing an affidavit, which is the base for issuing a search warrant. So the scope and precision of that warrant is very critical. A court judge may not be able to issue a search warrant if it's too broad, like involving too many places, or too many suspects lacking details or facts indicating the probable cause of the case. If the courts will be involved in a criminal investigation, investigators will eventually present the findings in a court of law in front of the jury. So that's the testimony part right here at the top of the letter. Now, at the crime scene, the actions that you take can be both real and virtual, and the idea is to minimize the errors, oversights, and protect people from physical harm, like your officers being hurt by criminals or other circumstances. So the crime scene has to be well secured. People have to be moved away from the evidence, like computers, laptops, and mobile devices. And this is all, of course, real action. But the virtual part of it is that you may also be able to conduct a triage actions to look at certain computers, perhaps laptops of a missing person, like mobile devices at the scene, to quickly find important critical leads in your investigation that would suggest next steps. And before you can do all of this, the crime scene has to be well secured. So people have to be moved away from the evidence, like computers, laptops, and mobile phones. And the next step, you're now at the location and the crime scene, and the evidence will be seized. So the place is normally videotaped, photographed, and also sketched in terms of the room's plan, other details. And when you begin to identify the actual evidence, as you start unplugging computers, you also normally document very well and photograph every connection, every USB cable and cord, and make sure that you know exactly how everything is connected. And later you may be asked to reconnect all of it and restart the system. And it is your responsibility to be able to bring the system back to the way it was right at the crime scene. So I suggest that every cable, mouse, keyboard, wireless router, the network devices, all are numbered. That is, you must assign a unique identifier, a unique ID, to every piece and keep track of them. Your success really depends on your preparedness. You have to have enough equipment, people, knowledge, and be able to do the job right. And this is where the chain of custody is also initiated. And another interesting fact to mention about the crime scene, that the search warrant would allow you to get to the crime scene only once. So this is your chance to do the job right. You will not be able to repeat these steps. You have only one chance to do them right. And again, this is where the chain of custody is initiated. So the crime scene, everything you collect and later look look at and you book it in your secure evidence storage room, everything must be tracked. So basically, the chain of custody is like you have date and time, you have who, and you have the reason why evidence is handled. So for instance, on such and such date, you specify who collected evidence at the crime scene, and you can also specify the location. Later on, again, you write the date and time, who, and you book the evidence in the secure storage room. Later on, perhaps next day or same day, you take the evidence out into the examination room or into imaging room, and you document that you want to examine the BIOS of the machine, disconnect hard drives, image those hard drives, and so on and so on. So you see there is like clear indication of every step, who did what did they do, and the track of time. The chain of custody is absolutely important. If during the trial it is discovered that something went undocumented, the evidence will be dismissed. As simple as that. So these are the highlights of crime scene, identification of evidence, seizure of evidence, and preservation, which basically we want to keep track of it, modification-free, damage-free, and well preserved. And then you begin the recovery, which means that you're now back at your desk working on the digital evidence, and you do all of this, right? So you want to uncover all of the evidence, hidden, deleted, unallocated, allocated, be able to look at all the metadata, which means data about data. Like for instance, you want to find information, EXIF information in your images. You want to be able to identify the content of video files, other multimedia, and so forth. You want to filter out perhaps files that are well known, such as operating system files, and files that are not otherwise related to your investigation. And of course, you have to focus and refocus on pursuing different paths of your search. So you look at the media, you look at the keyword searches, and other possibilities. You look for hidden data. You want at possible encryption. And of course, you kind of like scrutinize everything. You just really want to focus your analysis on positive indications of certain evidence and document it. And now here's the question: how can you validate that you did a good job? Well, I guess my first answer is that you must keep really good notes about every step that you take during your searching and recovering the evidence. Forensic software helps to create bookmarks and tag files and store short notes, but personally I have a habit of keeping my own diary, and what I write down depends on the complexity of the task. So, for example, if I spent a few seconds finding something, it's obvious I'm not going to write down 2 paragraphs to explain what I did. But if it took me hours or even days to find something in unallocated space or in the snapshot of computer memory, I will write it down because I don't want to forget the critical steps to reproduce that finding. And then the second answer to this question, how do you validate you did a good job doing all of this? I guess it's quite simple. Independent third parties should be able to examine your collection processes and achieve the same result. And their report of findings will be matching yours. This is good, reliable result. This is what digital evidence is all about. It's logical. It's well documented, and your conclusions are based on facts. It is the work of high integrity. And this is why you have to learn like we do in this course and always follow policies and protocols with good knowledge and training and understanding. So this is my quick overview of the topics presented in this handout. I suggest that you browse through the rest of this handout and take your own notes.